In a week already laden with implications for the NFC North hierarchy, the Chicago Bears received a rare surge of mid-December optimism. Tuesday, as linebackers T.J. Edwards and Noah Sewell returned to practice in limited capacity, signaling a potentially transformative boost ahead of their pivotal rematch with the Green Bay Packers at Soldier Field. A rivalry game now carrying the additional weight of postseason meaning and national scrutiny. The development arrived after weeks of patch-and-pray depth management, during which Chicago's defense, battered by attrition at the second level, relied on an ensemble of young, unproven linebackers who were forced into action by injuries to Edwards, Sewell, and Tremaine Edmonds. Despite the turmoil, head coach Ben Johnson, maintaining his steadfast posture of incremental progress rather than panic, insisted the Bears would continue to go par for the course as his staff evaluated the position group day by day, leaning on temporary starters such as Ayan Ebo, DeMarco Jackson, and Amon Ogbongbemiga, all of whom produced admirably but lacked the veteran anticipation and field-shrinking impact Edwards provides when healthy. Tuesday's practice, unofficial by league reporting standards but closely monitored by Chicago media, delivered the clearest indicator yet that the Bears' linebacker room may soon be restored to something resembling full strength. According to veteran reporter Brad Biggs, both Edwards and Sewell were on the field in at least a limited capacity, an especially encouraging sight considering the cascade of ailments that has kept Edwards sidelined for much of the year. Hand surgery, recurring hamstring trouble, and the cumulative wear of a punishing defensive workload that historically made him one of the NFC's most dependable tackling engines. When Edwards is active and physically right, the Bears' scheme changes. He is a stabilizer, a communicator, and one of the NFL's most efficient downhill tacklers. In 2024, he accumulated 129 total tackles, 79 of them solo, along with an interception, a collection of pass breakups, a quartet of sacks, a pair of fumble recoveries, and 12 tackles for loss, the type of production that defines a system's heartbeat. A former undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin, Edwards has parlayed instinct and discipline into a career that far exceeds his entry-level projection, and his absence this season has exposed how reliant the Bears are on his diagnostic speed and gap-fitting intelligence. Sewell's return, though less headline-dominating than Edwards, is no less significant for a defense that has seen its depth evaporate since Halloween. At 6'1", 246 pounds, and only 23 years old, the former Oregon standout had begun to find his footing as a rotational linebacker, registering 55 tackles, including 31 solo, along with 3 tackles for loss and a forced fumble before an injury shut him down for multiple weeks. His developmental arc had finally begun its upward swing after an uneven start to his NFL journey, making the timing of his injury especially frustrating for Chicago coaches who believed he was rounding into reliable form. His potential return, alongside Edwards, restores not only depth but versatility. Sewell's frame and strength provide a sturdier downhill presence, allowing Chicago flexibility to move parts around, depending on Green Bay's personnel groupings. The renewed health could not arrive at a more critical juncture, as the Bears prepare to face a Packers offense anchored by star running back Josh Jacobs, whose bruising style and punishing efficiency demand defensive continuity and high-level tackling. Despite battling minor injuries of his own, Jacobs has amassed 731 rushing yards on 186 carries, punched in 11 touchdowns, and maintained a 3.9 yards per carry average while functioning as the emotional centerpiece of Green Bay's ground attack. Even more concerning for Chicago is the simultaneous emergence of an additional threat. Packers rookie Marshawn Lloyd, the explosive former USC and South Carolina running back whose IR return window opened this week. Though still uncertain for Sunday, Lloyd's potential activation adds a home run element to a Green Bay backfield already full of power. At 5'9" and 215 pounds with sub-445 speed, a 36-inch vertical, and a reputation for violent contact balance, he profiles as the type of runner who punishes poor pursuit angles and can overwhelm second-level defenders who struggle with leverage. If Jacobs represents inevitability, Lloyd represents unpredictability, and Chicago may well need every able linebacker on its roster to contain the multiplicity of Green Bay's rushing attack. The Bears, resilient as they have been, cannot afford further erosion of their defensive rankings, which, despite their opportunistic brilliance in the takeaway department, remain troubling across traditional metrics. 27th in yards allowed, 22nd against the pass, 27th against the run, and 24th in points allowed. These are not the numbers of a defense that wins with consistency. They are the numbers of a unit that survives on volatility. Paradoxically, though, the Bears hold the league lead in takeaways, a distinction that speaks to the individual excellence of their playmakers rather than the stability of the system as a whole. Kevin Byard, continuing to justify his midseason acquisition, leads all NFL safeties in interceptions, displaying the same pre-snap intelligence and closing burst that defined his all-pro peaks in Tennessee. Opposite him, cornerback Nan Wright has transformed into one of the season's most surprising disruptors, piling up 8 total takeaways through a mix of aggressive ball tracking, fearless route jumping, and sheer competitive instinct. Yet their heroics have often served as a patchwork solution for broader structural inconsistencies, miscommunications in the second level, breakdowns in gap integrity, and a defensive line stretched thin by snap volume and injuries. Linebacker absences have forced the Bears into schematic compromises, with safeties spinning down into the box more frequently and edge rushers asked to carry coverage responsibilities they were never built for. A healthier, more cohesive linebacker group can narrow those weaknesses, restoring the balance required for Matt Eberflus's defense to function as designed. If that happens, Chicago can reassert the complementary identity that fueled its early season surge and briefly propelled it to the top of both the NFC North and the conference standings. And now, there is added urgency rooted not just in divisional mathematics but in the national spotlight. The NFL announced that Chicago's Week 16 home clash with Green Bay, its second meeting with the Packers this season, has been flexed to Saturday night at 7:20 p.m., a primetime showcase that underscores the Bears' reemergence as a team worth watching. The decision, confirmed by Marquee Sports Network's Scott Beyer, transforms what was already a heated rivalry matchup into a centerpiece of the league's holiday slate, complete with all the pressure, scrutiny, and narrative weight that come with late-season national broadcasts. Soldier Field, draped in winter darkness and frigid wind, promises an atmosphere steeped in decades of hostility. The chants, the textures of cold-weather football, the layered history of a rivalry that has defined entire eras of the NFC. This time, playoff implications hover over every snap. The Bears, eager to validate their status as a rising contender, know this is the kind of stage on which reputations are made, or questioned. It is the kind of game where a returning leader like T.J. Edwards can reset the tenor of a defense with one perfectly timed run blitz, where a young defender like Noah Sewell can begin reshaping the narrative surrounding his development, and where Chicago's defense can prove that its turnover production is not a statistical outlier, but part of an emerging sustainable formula. As the city braces for December football with genuine stakes, a rarity in recent years, the Bears stand on the knife edge between resurgence and regression. Their schedule is unforgiving, their margin for error razor-thin, and their depth still being tested. Yet for the first time in a long stretch of attrition and uncertainty, reinforcements are arriving precisely when they are needed most. In a season defined by fluctuating expectations, persistent questions, and a roster gradually knitting itself back together, Tuesday's injury report optimism represents far more than a routine check-in. It signals renewed possibility, a flicker of momentum, and the sense that perhaps the Bears are entering the most pivotal stretch of their season with something they have rarely possessed in recent years: a fighting chance.